Have you ever wondered how the Amish keep their herbal teas fresh and potent for 5 full years without any chemicals or preservatives? While our store-bought teas lose flavor in months, Amish communities have perfected ancient techniques that lock in medicinal properties and taste for half a decade. Imagine opening a jar of chamomile or peppermint tea after 5 years and finding it as aromatic as the day it was harvested. This isn't magic, it's generations of wisdom passed down through Amish families. Today, I'm revealing their complete process from seed to storage, so you can preserve your own herbs the traditional way. Welcome to Amish Forge, where we uncover the timeless wisdom of Amish traditions. In today's fast-paced world, we've forgotten the art of preservation. The Amish, however, have maintained techniques that our great-grandparents once knew. Their herbal teas don't just survive for years, they thrive. While modern methods rely on freeze-drying and chemical treatments, the Amish trust in nature's own preservation system. In this video, I'll walk you through their entire journey, selecting the right herbs, preparing soil without chemicals, harvesting at peak potency, and, most importantly, the drying and storage secrets that make 5-year shelf life possible. Whether you're a gardener, herbalist, or simply someone seeking self-sufficiency, these techniques will transform how you preserve nature's medicine. Let's begin. Amish herb selection philosophy. The Amish approach to herb selection isn't random. It's a carefully thought-out system developed over centuries. When an Amish family decides which herbs to grow for tea, they consider 3 main factors: medicinal value, ease of preservation, and how well the plant thrives in their climate. Unlike modern gardeners who might choose herbs based on trends or exotic appeal, the Amish stick to what works reliably year after year. Chamomile stands at the top of their list because it grows abundantly and its calming properties remain potent even after years of storage. Peppermint is another staple. The Amish know that its menthol content actually concentrates during the drying process, making older tea sometimes stronger than fresh. Lemon balm, with its citrusy notes and stress-relieving qualities, grows like a weed in Amish gardens and dries beautifully without losing its essential oils. The Amish also prioritize herbs that serve multiple purposes. Sage, for instance, isn't just for tea. They use it for cooking and medicinal remedies. This practical mindset means every plant in their garden earns its space. Thyme, rosemary, and oregano all make the cut because they're hardy, preserve well, and offer both culinary and health benefits. What's fascinating is how Amish communities share seed varieties that have been saved for generations. These aren't hybrid seeds from agricultural companies, they're heirloom varieties that have proven themselves over decades. An Amish grandmother might give her daughter seeds from the same chamomile plant her own grandmother grew. This ensures genetic strength and plants that are perfectly adapted to local conditions. The selection process also considers the harvest-to-storage ratio. Herbs that shrink significantly when dried, like basil, are grown in larger quantities. Those that retain more volume, like sage leaves, require less garden space. This efficiency is typical of Amish thinking. Nothing is wasted, and every decision serves a practical purpose. Another key aspect is avoiding anything that requires intensive care. The Amish prefer herbs that are naturally pest-resistant and drought-tolerant. Lavender, for example, thrives on neglect and actually produces more aromatic oils when slightly stressed for water. This aligns perfectly with their low-intervention farming philosophy. They also understand which herbs blend well together. Mint varieties are kept separate to prevent cross-pollination, while complementary herbs like chamomile and lavender are planted near each other. This knowledge ensures pure flavors in their teas and maintains the integrity of each herb's unique properties for the full 5-year storage period. Soil preparation, the Amish way. Amish soil preparation begins months before a single seed enters the ground. They understand that healthy soil creates healthy plants, and healthy plants preserve better. Their approach rejects all synthetic fertilizers and chemical amendments, relying instead on methods that build soil fertility naturally and sustainably over time. The foundation of Amish soil preparation is composting. Every Amish household maintains multiple compost piles at different stages of decomposition. Kitchen scraps, garden waste, livestock manure, and even wood ash are layered carefully. They turn these piles regularly, monitoring temperature and moisture to ensure proper breakdown. What emerges after 6 to 12 months is rich, dark compost that smells like forest floor, earthy and alive, with beneficial microorganisms. Before planting herb beds, the Amish spread this finished compost thickly across the area. They don't till it deeply into the soil. Instead, they use a broad fork to gently lift and aerate the earth without destroying its natural structure. This preserves the network of fungal threads and microbe colonies that modern tilling destroys. The compost is then worked into just the top few inches, creating a nutrient-rich layer where herb roots will establish. Crop rotation plays a crucial role in their soil strategy. Amish farmers never plant the same herb family in the same spot year after year. After harvesting chamomile, they might plant an area with legumes that fix nitrogen back into the soil. This rotation prevents nutrient depletion and breaks pest and disease cycles naturally. They also use cover crops extensively. In late fall, after harvesting herbs, they'll sow winter rye or hairy vetch. These plants protect soil from erosion, suppress weeds, and add organic matter when turned under in spring. This green manure approach costs nothing but seed and adds incredible fertility. Without any outside inputs, animal manure is aged for at least a year before use in herb beds. Fresh manure burns plants and introduces weed seeds, but properly aged manure becomes a powerhouse of nutrients. The Amish pile horse and cow manure, letting it weather through seasons until it transforms into crumbly, odorless black gold. Soil pH is adjusted using natural amendments. Wood ash from their stoves raises pH for herbs that prefer alkaline conditions, while pine needles and oak leaves lower it for those wanting acidity. They test soil simply by observing which wild plants grow where. Certain weeds indicate specific pH levels and nutrient imbalances. Planting, timing, and methods. Timing in Amish herb gardening follows natural cycles rather than calendar dates. They observe signs in nature. When oak leaves are the size of squirrel ears, it's time to plant certain herbs. When lilacs bloom, the soil has warmed enough for basil. This phenological approach has proven more reliable than any planting chart because it responds to actual local conditions each unique spring. The Amish start many herbs from seed indoors using simple cold frames or sunny windowsills. They don't need expensive grow lights or heating mats. Seeds are planted in soil blocks made from their homemade compost mixed with a bit of clay for structure. These blocks can be planted directly into the garden without disturbing roots, giving seedlings a strong start. For perennial herbs like thyme, oregano, and sage, the Amish prefer root division from established plants. In early spring, they carefully dig up mature plants and separate them into multiple sections, each with roots and shoots. This method is free, preserves genetic traits of proven plants, and results in herbs that establish faster than seed-grown plants. Direct seeding happens for hardy herbs that transplant poorly. Dill, cilantro, and borage go straight into prepared beds. The Amish create shallow furrows with a hoe handle, drop seeds at proper spacing, and cover them lightly. They've learned exact depths through experience. Large seeds like borage go deeper, while tiny chamomile seeds barely get covered at all. Spacing is generous compared to modern intensive gardening. The Amish know that good air circulation prevents fungal diseases and makes harvesting easier. Plants that will be dried need space for their leaves to develop fully and for air to move through the garden. Crowded herbs produce weak, spindly growth that doesn't preserve well. Moon phases guide some planting decisions in traditional Amish communities. Above-ground herbs are planted during the waxing moon, while root crops go in during the waning moon. Whether this has scientific basis or not, generations of successful harvests have reinforced the practice. Companion planting is strategic. Basil goes near tomatoes, not just in cooking but in the garden, where it repels certain pests. Chamomile is planted throughout herb beds because the Amish believe it strengthens neighboring plants. They call it the plant physician. Nasturtiums edge the garden as sacrificial plants that draw aphids away from valuable herbs. Natural watering systems. Water management in Amish herb gardens reflects their philosophy of working with nature rather than against it. They've designed systems that require minimal effort while providing optimal moisture, essential because properly watered herbs develop the concentrated essential oils that preserve well over 5 years. Rainwater harvesting is the cornerstone of their approach. every barn and outbuilding sports gutters that channel rain into large wooden barrels or metal tanks. This free, soft water lacks the chlorine and minerals of well water that can affect soil pH over time. A single Amish farmstead might capture thousands of gallons during spring rains, enough to sustain herb gardens through dry summer weeks. The placement of these water barrels is strategic. They're positioned on slight slopes above the gardens, allowing gravity to provide gentle pressure for watering cans or simple drip systems made from punctured hoses. No electricity, no pumps, just elevation and physics doing the work. Mulching conserves the water they do apply. After herbs are established, the Amish spread thick layers of straw or grass clippings between plants. This mulch layer reduces evaporation dramatically, keeping soil moist for days longer than bare ground. It also suppresses weeds that would compete for water and breaks down slowly to add organic matter. Their watering schedule follows plant needs rather than arbitrary timing. They check soil moisture by feeling it. If it clumps when squeezed but doesn't leave their hand wet, it's perfect. Most established herbs are watered deeply once or twice weekly, rather than lightly every day. This encourages deep root growth that makes plants drought-resistant and concentrates the flavors and medicinal compounds thereafter. Morning. Watering is preferred because it allows foliage to dry before nightfall. Wet leaves overnight invite fungal diseases that can ruin an entire crop. The Amish direct water at the soil level, not over the plants, using watering cans with long spouts that reach under the foliage. They understand different herbs have different water needs. Mint thrives with more moisture, while lavender and rosemary prefer drier conditions. Gardens are organized so water lovers are grouped together in lower areas where water naturally collects, while Mediterranean herbs occupy raised, well-drained spots. Organic pest control. Pest management in Amish herb gardens operates on prevention rather than reaction. Their methods avoid all chemicals, instead creating an ecosystem where beneficial insects outnumber pests and plants grow strong enough to resist damage. This approach produces cleaner herbs that are safer for 5-year storage and consumption. Companion planting serves as their first line of defense. Strong-smelling herbs like lavender, rosemary, and sage confuse pests looking for target plants. Marigolds planted throughout the garden repel aphids and beetles with their pungent scent. The Amish have learned which combinations work through generations of observation. Basil protects tomatoes, while chamomile seems to improve the health of everything near it. Encouraging beneficial insects is deliberate strategy. They plant flowering herbs like dill, fennel, and yarrow that attract ladybugs, lacewings, and parasitic wasps, insects that devour aphids, caterpillars, and other pests. Small water sources like shallow dishes with pebbles give these helpful insects drinking spots. By midsummer, an Amish herb garden buzzes with this beneficial army, doing pest control for free. Hand-picking is the most common. Intervention for larger pests. Amish children often help with this task, collecting beetles and caterpillars into buckets. It's time-consuming but effective, and turns into teaching moments about garden ecology. The collected pests often become chicken feed, closing another loop in their sustainable system. When pest pressure increases, simple sprays made from the herbs themselves provide relief. A strong tea of mint or garlic sprayed on plants repels many insects. Soapy water, just biodegradable soap mixed with water, suffocates soft-bodied pests like aphids without harming plants. These treatments are applied in early morning or evening to avoid leaf burn. Physical barriers protect young plants. Row covers made from lightweight fabric shield seedlings from flea beetles and other chewing insects while allowing light and rain through. Once plants are established and less vulnerable, covers are removed. This simple tool prevents damage during the critical early growth period. Healthy soil produces pest-resistant plants. Another reason the Amish invest so heavily in soil preparation. Plants stressed by poor nutrition become pest magnets, while vigorous herbs growing in rich compost tend to shrug off insect damage. This connection between soil health and pest resistance is fundamental to their approach. Harvesting at peak potency. Knowing exactly when to harvest herbs makes the difference between tea that stays potent for 5 years and tea that fades within months. The Amish have refined this timing through careful observation, understanding that essential oils, the compounds responsible for flavor and medicinal properties, fluctuate throughout a plant's growth cycle. Peak potency arrives just before flowering. As plants prepare to bloom, They concentrate essential oils in their leaves. The moment buds form but haven't opened is ideal for herbs like basil, mint, and oregano. Wait too long, and the plant redirects energy into flowers and seeds, reducing leaf quality. The Amish check their herb gardens daily during peak season. Watching for these crucial signs, time of day matters significantly. Essential oils are most concentrated in the early morning after dew has evaporated, but before the sun's heat volatilizes these precious compounds. Amish herb harvesters are typically in their gardens by 8 or 9 in the morning, working quickly before midday heat. Evening harvest is their second choice. After plants have cooled, but while there's still enough light to work by, weather conditions in the days before harvest affect quality. The Amish avoid harvesting after heavy rains. Waterlogged herbs are harder to dry and more prone to mold. They prefer periods of dry weather when plants are slightly stressed for water, as this actually increases essential oil concentration. However, severely drought-stressed plants are also avoided as they may have damaged leaves. Different herbs require different harvesting techniques. For leafy herbs like mint and lemon balm, they cut stems about 1/3 down the plant, leaving enough growth for the plant to recover and produce a second or even third cutting. Woody herbs, like rosemary and thyme, are trimmed more conservatively, taking just the tender new growth. This selective harvesting keeps plants productive throughout the growing season. The Amish never harvest more than 1/3 of a plant at once. This restraint ensures the plant survives and continues growing. Greedy harvesting weakens plants and reduces total yield over the season. Their patient approach means multiple harvests from the same plants. With each cutting of high quality, flowers are harvested differently than leaves. Chamomile flowers are picked individually when fully open, typically in mid-morning on dry days. Lavender is cut when about half the flowers on a spike have opened too early and they lack fragrance. Too late, and petals begin to fade. Each herb has its optimal moment. Clean, sharp tools prevent plant damage and disease transmission. The Amish use simple scissors or pruning shears cleaned between different herb varieties to prevent cross-contamination. Cuts are made cleanly rather than torn, allowing plants to heal quickly and reducing entry points for pathogens. Initial cleaning process. The cleaning process begins immediately after harvesting, while herbs are still fresh and pliable. The Amish understand that proper cleaning is essential for long-term storage. Any dirt, insects, or debris left on herbs can introduce moisture and contaminants that cause spoilage during the 5-year storage. First inspection happens right in the garden. As herbs are cut, the Amish quickly scan each stem, removing any obviously damaged, diseased, or insect-eaten leaves. This immediate sorting prevents problematic material from mixing with good herbs. Damaged leaves won't dry properly and can create pockets of moisture that lead to mold and storage. Transportation from garden to cleaning area is done in shallow baskets that allow air circulation. Herbs are never piled deeply or stuffed into bags where they might bruise or begin to wilt. The Amish know that bruised herbs lose essential oils and develop off flavors that persist even after drying. The washing station is simple. Large basins filled with cool, clean water, usually from their rainwater collection system. Herbs are submerged in small batches and gently swished to dislodge soil and insects. They avoid aggressive washing that would bruise leaves or strip away the tiny oil glands visible on many herb surfaces. Multiple rinses ensure complete cleaning. After the first wash removes obvious dirt, herbs move to a second basin of fresh water for a final rinse. Some Amish families use a third rinse for particularly valuable herbs like chamomile flowers. This thoroughness prevents any grit from remaining that could affect tea quality. Years later, delicate flowers like chamomile require extra gentle handling. Rather than submerging and swishing, the Amish place them in a colander and spray them lightly with water, allowing dirt to fall through. This preserves the delicate petals that would be damaged by more vigorous washing. Inspecting for insects is done during washing. Small bugs that might be hiding in leaf clusters float to the surface or are easily spotted against the clean water. The Amish remove these by hand, ensuring no protein sources remain that could attract pests during storage. After washing, excess water must be removed without damaging the herbs. The Amish gently shake each bundle, then lay herbs on clean cotton towels in a single layer. They might gently pat with another towel, but never rub or press hard. Some families use salad spinners for sturdier herbs, like mint. Spinning very briefly and gently, the cleaned herbs are never left wet for long. They move quickly to the drying area because sitting wet creates the perfect conditions for mold growth. The entire cleaning process, from harvest to beginning of drying, typically takes less than 2 hours. This speed preserves freshness and prevents fermentation that can start surprisingly quickly in warm weather. Traditional drying methods? Drying is where Amish expertise truly shines. This step determines whether herbs last 5 years or spoil within months. Their methods rely on natural air circulation and controlled conditions rather than mechanical dehydrators, producing superior flavor and potency that commercial processes cannot match. The traditional barn drying method takes advantage of existing structures. Amish barns have excellent ventilation through gaps in board walls and strategically placed vents. Herbs are hung from rafters, where warm air naturally rises and circulates. This upper barn area maintains consistent low humidity and protection from direct sunlight that would degrade essential oils. Herb bundling is an art form. Small bunches of 5 to 8 stems are gathered and tied loosely with natural twine. Bundles must be small enough that air reaches every leaf large. Tight bundles trap moisture in their centers and mold from the inside out. The Amish tie bundles at the stem ends, leaving foliage loose and separated. Spacing between bundles is crucial. Hung herbs should never touch each other. The Amish hang bundles at least 6 inches apart, ensuring air flows around each one completely. In a well-organized drying barn, you might see hundreds of bundles hanging in rows, but each has its own space. Temperature and humidity monitoring happens through observation rather than instruments. The Amish feel the air and watch how quickly test bundles dry. Ideal conditions are warm, but not hot, between 70 and 90 degrees with low humidity. Too hot and essential oils evaporate. Too cool and drying takes so long that mold develops. For flowers like chamomile, screen drying works better than hanging. The Amish build simple drying racks using wooden frames stretched with clean window screening or cheesecloth. Flowers are spread in single layers on these screens, which are then stacked with spacers between them, allowing air circulation on all sides. Darkness during drying preserves color and potency. Sunlight breaks down the chlorophyll and volatile compounds that give herbs their character. Amish drying areas are deliberately dim, with light only from small windows or gaps. This protects the herbs while still providing enough warmth for drying. Drying time varies by herb type and weather conditions. Leafy herbs, like mint, typically dry in 1 to 2 weeks, while thicker leaves, like sage, might take 3 weeks. The Amish check progress regularly, but avoid handling herbs unnecessarily. Each touch can knock off precious oil glands. Air circulation is sometimes enhanced naturally. Opening specific barn doors or vents creates cross breezes on dry, breezy days. On humid days, vents might be partially closed to prevent moisture from entering. This active management of airflow is based on generations of understanding how their specific buildings function. Checking for complete dryness. Determining when herbs are completely dry is critical. Under-dried herbs will mold in storage, while over-dried ones have lost too much potency. The Amish use multiple assessment methods to ensure perfection before moving herbs to long-term storage containers. The primary test is tactile. Properly dried herb leaves should crumble easily when rubbed between fingers. They should feel papery and brittle, not leathery or flexible. Stems should snap cleanly rather than bend. The Amish check herbs from different parts of each bundle, since outer leaves dry faster than inner ones. Visual inspection reveals moisture content. Dried herbs lose their fresh green color, typically turning a duller gray-green or brown-green depending on the variety. However, they shouldn't be brown or black, which indicates over-drying or heat damage. Properly dried chamomile flowers retain. They're white petals and yellow centers but feel lightweight and delicate. Weight change is another indicator. Experienced Amish herb handlers recognize dried herbs weigh roughly 1/5 to 1/10 of their fresh weight. Someone who has handled thousands of herb bundles can feel this difference instinctively, knowing when moisture has sufficiently evaporated. The bend test works well for stems and woody herbs. When a sage or rosemary stem bends and immediately springs back, moisture remains. When it snaps with an audible crack, it's ready. Flexible stems mean water is still present in the plant's vascular system, which will migrate to leaves in sealed storage and cause spoilage. Sound provides clues to properly dried herbs rustle and crackle when handled. They make a distinctive papery sound, unlike the softer, quieter sound of fresh or under-dried herbs. Amish grandmothers often identified drying completion by sound alone when checking their barn rafters. Random sampling from each batch ensures consistency. Rather than checking just one bundle and assuming all are ready, the Amish test multiple bundles from different areas of the drying space. Herbs in the center of the barn might dry slower than those near vents, so each location is verified. The squeeze test works for flowers. A handful of dried chamomile or lavender should compress easily and spring back slowly when released. If flowers feel springy and bounce back immediately, moisture remains. If they compress into a compact clump and stay compressed, they're properly dry. Moisture meters are not used in traditional Amish practice, but the methods described above are remarkably accurate. Modern testing has shown that Amish dried herbs typically achieve moisture content below 10%, the threshold for safe long-term storage. Crushing and processing. Once herbs achieve perfect dryness, the Amish face a choice: store them whole or process them into smaller pieces. This decision affects both storage efficiency and how well herbs maintain potency over 5 years. Their approach balances convenience with preservation science. Whole leaf storage is preferred for maximum longevity. Intact leaves retain essential oils better because their protective outer layer remains unbroken. When crushing happens, cell walls rupture and volatile compounds begin escaping immediately. Therefore, herbs destined for the longest storage, the full 5 years, are kept whole and crushed only when ready to use. However, some processing makes sense for certain applications. Herbs used frequently are partially processed for convenience, crushed to a size that's easy to measure, and brew. The Amish typically process only a few months' worth at a time, keeping the bulk of their harvest whole for later processing. The crushing method is simple but effective. Dried herbs are placed in a clean bowl, and hands do all the work. The Amish rub leaves between their palms, breaking them into pieces while feeling for any stems or overly thick parts that should be removed. This hand method is gentle and prevents the powder-fine consistency that loses potency quickly. Stems are completely removed during processing. While they dried attached to the leaves for ease of handling, stems add no value to tea and take up storage space. The Amish strip leaves from stems by running their fingers down each stem, collecting the leaves and discarding the woody parts to the compost pile. Seed heads and flowers require different handling. Chamomile flowers are left intact since they're already the perfect size for tea. Lavender flowers are stripped from their stems by pulling fingers upward against the direction of growth. Collecting the tiny blooms, seeds like fennel or dill are simply shaken from their dried umbels. Into containers, consistency in crushing size matters for even brewing. Pieces should be relatively uniform, roughly the size of a pencil eraser for most leafy herbs. Too fine, and they'll pass through tea strainers and create sediment. Too large, and they won't release their flavors. Efficiently during steeping, the Amish work in clean environments for processing. A dedicated table is wiped down, hands are washed, and all tools are clean. Contamination at this stage would be particularly problematic, since processed herbs have more surface area exposed to any bacteria or mold spores present. Small batches are processed at a time to maintain quality. Rather than crushing an entire year's harvest in one session, they might process monthly amounts. This keeps the majority of herbs in their most stable, whole leaf form, while ensuring a ready supply of convenient, pre-processed tea. Storage container selection. The container choice is perhaps the most crucial decision for achieving 5-year storage life. The Amish learned through generations of trial and error which containers preserve herbs and which allow degradation. Their selections might seem simple, but they're based on sound preservation principles. Glass jars rank as the top choice for herb storage. Canning jars with tight-fitting lids create an excellent barrier against moisture and air, the two main enemies of dried herbs. Glass doesn't absorb odors or impart any flavors, and it's completely non-reactive with herbs, essential oils. The Amish reuse jars year after year, making this an economical choice despite initial cost, jar size matters for preservation. Smaller jars are better than large ones because they're opened less frequently. Each time a container opens, fresh air and moisture enter, slightly degrading the contents. The Amish often store herbs in pint or quart jars rather than gallon sizes, using multiple smaller jars for large quantities. Dark glass is preferred over clear when available. Amber or blue glass jars protect herbs from light exposure that breaks down chlorophyll and essential oils. When only clear glass is available, the Amish store jars in dark cupboards or wrap them in cloth to block light. This extra step significantly extends storage. Metal tins work well if they have tight-fitting lids and are completely dry inside. The Amish sometimes use old tea tins or coffee cans, but they ensure these containers previously held food-safe products and have been thoroughly cleaned. Rust is the enemy. Any moisture inside a metal container creates rust that contaminates herbs. Cloth bags serve specific purposes in Amish storage systems. While not airtight, breathable fabric bags work well for short-term storage or for herbs that will be used within the year. The Amish hang muslin or cotton bags in cool, dry pantries where air circulation prevents moisture buildup that sealed containers in the same location might develop. Plastic containers are generally avoided for long-term storage. Plastic can impart odors and doesn't create as complete a seal as glass. However, food-grade plastic buckets with gasket lids are sometimes used for bulk storage of less delicate herbs, with smaller portions transferred to glass jars for daily use. Vacuum sealing is not traditional Amish practice since it requires electricity, but the principle of removing air is understood. They achieve similar results by packing jars firmly full, leaving minimal airspace, and ensuring lids seal tightly. Some Amish communities have adopted hand pump vacuum sealers that work without electricity. Container preparation before filling is critical. Jars are washed with hot soapy water, rinsed thoroughly, and dried completely. Any moisture remaining in a storage container will be absorbed by the herbs and create spoilage. Long-term storage conditions. Even perfectly dried herbs in ideal containers will fail if storage conditions aren't right. The Amish create specific environments that maintain herb quality for the full 5-year period. Using spaces within their homes and outbuildings, strategically cool temperatures are essential. Heat accelerates the breakdown of essential oils and can cause sealed containers to sweat internally as temperature fluctuations create condensation. The Amish store herbs in their coolest spaces, typically cellars, basements, or north-facing closets that never receive direct sunlight. Ideal temperature range is between 50 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Darkness is non-negotiable. Light, especially sunlight, is incredibly destructive to dried herbs. Storage areas are deliberately dim or completely dark. Pantries with solid doors work well, as do cupboards and cellars with minimal windows. When the Amish retrieve herbs for use, they work quickly to minimize light exposure. Dry conditions prevent the primary cause of herb spoilage, mold growth. Basements in humid climates present challenges, so the Amish might add ventilation or use their driest upstairs closets instead. They avoid storing herbs near water sources, in bathrooms, or anywhere steam or moisture regularly occurs. Organization ensures proper rotation and prevents waste. Each jar is labeled with the herb name and harvest year. The Amish used simple paper labels or write directly on masking tape stuck to jars. This labeling prevents confusion and allows them to use oldest herbs first, ensuring nothing exceeds its optimal storage life. The first in, first out principle guides their usage. When new harvest comes in, older jars move to the front of the shelf where they'll be reached first. This rotation system means herbs are always consumed while still at peak quality, and the 5-year maximum is never approached for most varieties. Regular inspection catches problems early. The Amish check stored herbs periodically, looking for any signs of moisture, mold, or pest intrusion. Quarterly inspections are common, with any questionable jars removed immediately before problems spread to nearby containers. Pest prevention involves cleanliness and vigilance. Storage areas are kept clean and free of food debris that attracts insects. Bay leaves are sometimes tucked into storage areas as a natural deterrent. If moths or other pests appear, the entire storage area is cleaned and affected herbs are discarded rather than risk contamination. Location away from strong odors preserves herb flavors. The Amish don't store herbs near cleaning supplies, gasoline, paint, or other strong-smelling substances that could be absorbed even through sealed jars. Dedicated herb storage spaces keep flavors pure. These Amish techniques prove that the best preservation methods don't require modern technology, just patience and wisdom. By following their practices from soil to storage, you can enjoy homegrown herbal teas for 5 full years. Start small with 1 or 2 herbs this season. If you found this valuable, like and subscribe to Amish Forage for more traditional wisdom. Share your herb growing journey in the comments below. Let's preserve these time-tested skills together.